Okay, a couple more days left in April. Let's finish it off strong. Everyone loves a good strong finish, especially when it comes to talking about domestic assault or sexual assault awareness month. Oh my gosh, I've been staring at a screen too much today. And so the conversation I'm gonna actually run scans through that wall, so I don't want to talk and cause noise in the other room. So the thing I want to talk about today is something called the Frontal Assessment Battery, and it is a series of tests in order to measure the prefrontal cortex. And as we've talked about in detail throughout this entire month, that pretty much sexual assault is a result of an underdeveloped advanced section of the brain called the prefrontal cortex in men and women alike. And it takes two to tango, so to speak. And what we've learned after interviewing with Elizabeth and really expanded my understanding is that the abuser is just as much addicted to abusing as the person being abused is to becoming someone who is abused, and both get into an addiction cycle. And that's why so often people who are abused become abusers, and then people who are abused then go in another relationship that ends up being abusive. And it's a vicious cycle. And in essence, it points to an underdevelopment of the part of the brain that is planning sequentially, meaning if I do A, then B occurs. That is the prefrontal cortex. So worth talking about a lot. And the way to get to this nerve, to this part of the brain, is through activation of the vagus nerve. Also worth talking about a lot. And that's where we are hosting tomorrow the Stop the Spread of the Walking Dead talk, which is all about the vagus nerve. And pretty much you could sum up every single neuro-emotional disorder and struggle, challenge to some kind of insufficiency with the vagus nerve. There is a altered perception that leads to an emotional response that leads to then feelings that are not pleasant, which then leads to coping mechanisms that are not healthy. And I hate to minimize it to be that simple, but really from now over 2 years of studying this, living in the jungles of the Dominican Republic, studying under the top neuroscientists in the world when it comes to brain and HRV and vagus nerve studies, like it really comes down to this simple. And so the question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep listening to medical doctors, hoping that they will give you the right answer? Maybe there's just another treatment that will be safe and effective. Or are you going to take control back into your own hands and realize that if you're a person that has a difficult time regulating your anxiety, if you're a person that has a difficult time regulating your emotional control that then leads to hurting the people that you care about, then it comes down to you have imbalance within the neural anatomy within your brain. So you need to get your vagus nerve back online so you can adequately perceive reality. You need to get your prefrontal cortex strengthened so you can adequately sequentially plan. And then what happens naturally is the result that people aim for. So for example, someone who no longer wants to do drugs, when they get that neuroanatomy online, they just choose not to. They don't have to go through expensive treatment. They don't have to join groups where you get so much social pressure where it's like, if you drink again, you're gonna die. And and if you ever think about drinking, you better call your support system. Like, people with balanced neuroanatomy just choose not to do the things that cause them harm. And so that's the question. The question I have is, what would you choose? Choose to continue to accept, whatever area you're at. If you are a person that is anxious or is restless, just can't seem to relax, or struggling with addiction, or would you choose to be better? Because really that's what this whole next month is going to be about. And I think it's Mental Health Awareness Month, which is going to come down to Mental Strength Awareness Month, which isn't saying that people who struggle with mental health are weak. Well, actually, it is saying that. It's saying you're weak in a part of your neuroanatomy, and that part of the neuroanatomy allows you to adapt. So it's not weak because you're a weak person. It's weak because you lack the ability to adapt. And we've all seen this in every traditional, 0 to hero story is like this person overcomes great difficulty. And so we're going to really unpack what the difference is between someone that falls into blaming their circumstances for their mental illness, or where if you can then adapt to that damage then become mental strength. So, functional frontal assessment battery, different exercises that can strengthen the prefrontal cortex, engage the vagus nerve. And again, if you want to have 90 minutes of neuroanatomy packed into 15 minutes, message down on this, or go to Symmetry Chiropractic Mission Centers and then sign up for the Walking Dead talk, which is tomorrow, Wednesday, 10 a.m.